Well, here we go again on Radio Entrepreneurs. We just want to talk to one entrepreneur, one leader after another, people who are addressing this economy, figuring out how to do business and get to market and keep your staffs going and keep a strong culture. Our next guest is Sean Kline, President and CEO of TurboTek Computers. I like that name, TurboTek.
Yes.
So Sean, tell us about it. What is TurboTek all about?
Well, so TurboTek has been around for over 30 years. I acquired it about 10 years ago, and it started out as what's called a white box PC company when people used to build PCs and then started reselling various equipment, HP and software, Microsoft, Cisco, different systems, and then started adding some services. But when I acquired the company, I found that the services were quite reactive. And this is something that still exists today. And this is really our mission, is rather than starting from the infrastructure side with reactive types of services, starting from the business goal level of our customers. We work with 20 to 100 employee companies within an hour of Manchester, New Hampshire. It is a high touch model. Even in these days of COVID, I still have engineers who needs to go on site. So we try to stay local. And we help them to achieve their business goals through technology using a truly proactive process. And that word gets thrown around a lot, but we can talk a little bit more about what I mean by that later, perhaps.
Well, we don't have all day. Tell us.
Well, so I didn't know if you had other questions, but basically we become the IT department for our customers. And like I said, we're putting everything in the context of their business goals. And so our process is to align technology to best practices and standards. And that's really what allows us to get to the root cause of problems before they ever occur. Whereas again, most IT services providers, I would say 90+%, are fundamentally reacting. So even what they call managed services providers, they're deploying a set of tools to monitor, manage, secure, backup, and that's all great. But the problem is they don't add the next level, which is to say, why are problems happening that we're seeing? And so our alignment process, because even in a small company, there's, like I said, 15 different areas probably. There's servers and hardware and software and endpoints, desktops and mobile devices. There's software, there's security of 5 different flavors. There's networking, there's power and environmental. Each of these areas, if not properly deployed and maintained and aligned to technology standards and best practices, both our own and the industry's, will get out of alignment and cause tickets, cause problems for the end employees. That saps their productivity, that increases risk. For example, cybersecurity. That's a huge problem. As we went remote with COVID, we did a lot of transferring our customers' employees to remote work. Now, all of a sudden, you're going from a relatively controlled environment where you have some security over what's going on to people's home networks and, home environment, and it's the Wild West. And so unless you have a process to manage that, people can get in trouble.
So, I don't know how old you are, but we have a question we like to ask people on Radio Entrepreneurs. That's Professor Peabody and Sherman, his sidekick. We like to get in the Wayback Machine. Sean, you acquired the company, so why don't you go back in your history and tell us, who you are and how you sort of got to this point?
Sure. So, I'm 53, and I graduated with a computer science undergraduate, and then worked for about 7 years in technology in the semiconductor industry. And then I went and got an MBA. And this really became my passion, was the intersection of business and technology. And I worked for many years, in total, probably about 20 odd years in high tech in various positions for large and small companies. And I decided that I got introduced to this kind of boutique investment banker, and I introduced me to the idea of acquiring companies. And I decided to jump in because I was always a bit of an entrepreneur. I had started up other businesses. I started up a managed services business in a larger company. And this really kind of fed my juices in terms of growing businesses and helping customers. And so that's why I made the decision to acquire a company. And I looked at about 700 companies in this area, and I met with 70 CEO, president, owners myself, and this one bubbled to the top. I looked at non-technology companies too, but I'm glad that I ended back in technology, and this is what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
But you did make a big switch. You were an entrepreneur, but now you've got your own skin in the game.
For sure.
And do you have partners right now, or are you all alone?
No, I intentionally no. I mean, I suppose if someone came along and I thought that, 1 + 1 = 3, I would certainly engage in that conversation. But I've also seen along my travels many dysfunctional partner relationships, and it just adds complexity. And I just decided I don't really need to do that. I have wonderful people, have a wonderful team, and that's how we move forward.
Well, I live my life, a lot of my life, with dysfunctional partner relationships. It's part of what I do for a living. And without them, my life would be very different. I have to unravel them and try to make them, build them back up, or change them totally. So I sort of enjoy them and embrace them. But, you acquired TurboTek. What year did you acquire it?
So it was 2010 that the acquisition closed. I started that process in 2009.
With COVID, have things changed for you dramatically, how you run the business and how you go to market now?
Yes and no. It's interesting. Some of my customers have been dramatically affected. I had customers who had to shut down. I had customers who had 70% revenue reduction. And so I really tried to work with them to try to match the expenses that they pay me to their business. And, that's painful for me, but that's the right thing to do. But on the other hand, I see companies going on offense, so there's a company who's starting up who we're working with in the early stages. There are other companies who have been able to maintain. I'd say that the government assistance that came through was very helpful for both me and my customers and partners. But again, I've been using this as an opportunity to go on offense. So for example, where I was going out and visiting all of these people prior to engaging in agreements, now it's all done like this. And that actually increases our productivity. And so I'm able to network more, I'm able to talk to more customers and, actually close agreements even in this climate. So I'd say it's a mixed bag. And I'd say that, the question is always just adding value and finding those segments which are still doing well.
Interesting. Has competition changed in this economy for you? Has that changed at all?
Competition is interesting. I'd say there's a little bit of a shakeout because the people who don't have a good process are really struggling and they're losing business. And companies like mine, and I'm not the only one, I'm in a CEO peer group with companies worldwide who follow the same type of philosophy and methodology. We're thriving because we're locked down. Things like cybersecurity and productivity and all of that. We've been doing this for many, many years in a very disciplined and rigorous way. And so when something like this happens, we're able to move forward. We're very efficient. We don't have fat in our business. We kind of maximize our revenue with the fewest employees possible. And that's what we help fewest employees possible. And that's what we help our customers do. So competition is always there, but I've come to embrace competition. It makes us all better. And, we're very confident in the way that we approach things.
Well, the most important question, I notice on the bookshelf behind you, there's a trophy.
Yeah.
It's not the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup or the World Series trophy. What did you win?
Well, that's probably, that one in particular, it was from a karate competition, but my last, I would say 11 years have been really focused on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I did do a high-level competitive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I actually was third in the world at one point in my division. And that's one of the things which makes me the saddest about this whole pandemic for me personally, is that I'm unable to compete. I don't think it's the right thing to do. There are some people who are doing that, but we've seen in football, for example, Cam Newton, right? This is what happens when you get too close. And so I've decided to be pretty safe in that regard.
You could ruin the whole season for the team just by getting too close to someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I could have used you on my staff when I have clients who can't get out of their own way and they don't want to listen to logic. I just could have brought you up to beat them up. So
There you go. Well, it's funny you say that because when I'm talking to people, I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm just trying to give them a different perspective because I would say most people think they're fine as it relates to technology. And most people think, oh, I just got to hire someone. But what they don't realize, for example, I'm in the middle of a sales situation right now, and I'm more expensive than my competitor. And I go through the logic of, well, why? What are they not doing? And typically, what my competitors are not doing is strategy. They don't have a rigorous process to understand their customers' business goals and metrics, to backfill technology to align with that, and then to align that technology to best practices and standards. To do that, it's not for the faint of heart. The reason that my company didn't do this 10 years ago is because it was easier not to. It's very easy just to sell hours of time and some remote services and things like that. To do what we do is a cultural change. It's a discipline change. It's an accountability change. And so that's what I try to do is open up my prospects' minds to a different way of doing things. And I ask them, what results do you want? If you want to spend the least possible and you don't care if you have issues in your technology that impact your business, then go for a reactive provider. I encourage you to do that. But on the other hand, if technology is foundational to your business and you want to go on offense with it, you probably need a different approach because that approach isn't going to get you to where you want to be.
Wow. Well, we're clearly going to have you back on the show. A lot of content. Sean, if someone's looking for you at TurboTek, how could they find you?
Well, so our website is turbotekcomputer.com, and TurboTek is spelled with a K. Or they can certainly contact me at seank@turbotekcomputer.com, and that's SEANK@turbotekcomputer.com. And my phone number is 603-296-4845.
Great. Thanks for being on the show today, Sean.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Remind everybody this is Radio Entrepreneurs.